This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Save the day for the 36th annual Polo Classic. The preeminent polo event in the Twin Cities is back Sunday, August 3rd at Twin City Polo Club. Get all the details now, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Welcome back, Friday Football Feast. Paul Charchian with you. PA and Nordo are out today. We believe Nordo's back tomorrow, PA back later in the week, something like that. Yeah. Joining me now in studio, my old friend Brian Oake. Hi, Brian.
Hello, Paul. How are you?
It is great to talk to you again. You are the host of the Brian Oake Show. You've had 498 episodes of the Brian Oake Show. I was told there was no way when you started this, there's no way you'd get to 400. And now look.
There was no way we were going to get to 100, to be honest. And I mean, most podcasts just don't last that long, but we have kind of found our niche early on, which is hyper local, largely about music, but we've had tons of entrepreneurs and other characters of interest in, yourself included. And, it just keeps going. We knock out 2 every week. So this week we will hit 500 as of, I believe, Thursday, which is crazy. We started 5.5 years ago. My partner in crime, Sean Bernard, he reached out to me after I lost one of my many radio jobs I've lost in my life and said, "You want to do a podcast?" And I just sort of said yes because I had nothing else going on. At that point, I had listened to 2 podcasts in my life, but obviously had spent more than a little time behind a microphone. And we just sort of rolled with it. And the response has been good. We've got a big enough listenership that we make a little money. And it's fun, man. It really is quite impossible to believe, though, that we're about to hit episode 500.
500.
That's crazy, yes. Man. I know.
Oh, so what? Okay, so can you tell us what you're doing for episode 500, the milestone show?
I know that that's supposed to be like a big thing, and we should do a thing, and there's going to be bells and whistles, and there's really not. It's just going to be another show. I will say, however, we are going to be featuring one of the most interesting guests. He's been on once before. One of the most interesting people I've met. I mean, that's my favorite part of my job, right? Is like even when I was working at cities or wherever, interviewing the bands, getting to know them, finding out who they are and what makes them tick, in addition to their incredible artistic output. That's always been fascinating to me. So I love the art of a good conversation, of a decent interview. And this is one of my all-time favorites. His name is Jeffrey Morris, and he is a director, a producer. He has gotten Hollywood films made. He is a deep, deep sci-fi fan. You would love this dude, Paul. You guys would be able to talk. Possibly intelligent, and his special love. And again, this is going to sound real niche and nerdy to people who don't care, but remember the old show Space 1999 with Martin Landau?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Okay.
I just saw Martin Landau in North by Northwest 2 nights ago.
Fabulous. Well, so the name of the main ship in Space 1999 is the Eagle, and Eagle 1 or something like that. But Jeffrey Morris, this has been his lifelong obsession, and he just got finished producing and making a special dedicated to the importance of that one specific ship, to give you an idea of how highly detail-oriented he is.
What?
But he's super good at it. He also did a cartoon called Parallel Man that you should try to look up online, that is mind-bending, dimension-hopping, time-twisting sci-fi. That he's really, really good and really smart. So while it may not be the bells and whistles people would expect from a 500th landmark milestone episode, it will be a very, very good one and a very keen one. He's a great conversation and a really sharp guy. And I probably should mention that if people have never checked out the Brian Oake Show, it is one of the zillions of podcasts available on the number one name for podcasts in America, and that, of course, is the free iHeartRadio app that can be right there on your handheld communications device.
We encourage you to rate and review the Brian Oake Show. I've been following you and your show, and so I get updates. You know, I get notified every time there's a new show. It turns out I had not rated your show until just now. So now the Brian Oake Show, 5-star me.
Nice.
If this segment doesn't go well, 4 stars.
I understand. How's my Yelp review looking? How is my Yelp? How's life in Utah, man? I mean, I talk to you all the time. I just talked to you this past weekend, but it's such a weird, drastic change of who the Paul Charchi and I know. Plus, my buddy now lives on the other side of the country.
Yeah, that part's not cool.
Yeah.
And I miss my friends. I miss everybody at the station tremendously. It's still so new that I wake up feeling like I'm on vacation, even though I got to go to work and work all day. But it feels like one of these days I'm just going to wake up and be in my Plymouth house, and it's all going to be a dream, and it's going to be like Newhart. But it has not to this point. That has not yet happened. Brian, I have a 3-month rule.
What's that?
On new houses, new jobs,
what about
new diets?
Oh,
new partners, and new workouts. All of it, your honeymoon phase for all of those things is about 3 months.
Right.
But by 3 months, you kind of, the newness is worn off. Now you're kind of into the day-to-day rut of all of those new things. New cars, too, by the way.
Yeah.
By 3 months, you know what you got. So I'm only halfway through the 3 months. So I'm not going to make any big overarching statements about this decision in Utah in general, other than the fact that the people here are absurdly nice. Everybody.
Love that. That's a quality problem.
Whole different level.
I love it.
Whole different level. Yeah. That part's great. That part is great. You were on with Common on Wednesday. I listened to you. At the time, the McCartney news hadn't yet hit, and there was a lot of speculation about what the big reveal was going to be for this huge U.S. Bank Stadium event that was coming.
Mm-hmm.
We now know that it's McCartney.
Right.
And there seemed to be sort of a shrug about that. I didn't get the buzz from McCartney coming that I thought I was going to get, or maybe I'm just reading the room wrong from Utah. I'm looking at social media, listening to KFAN. I just didn't hear the excitement, like, oh my God, this is almost certainly my last chance to go see Paul McCartney. We got to go. I'll pay anything for tickets. I got to go. This is my last chance. That kind of stuff.
Well, and very likely this is your last chance to go see McCartney. I'm sorry. What was the question?
Well, no, go ahead. That's exactly what I was going to say. I think this is it.
Yeah, well, it's very likely your last chance, but I don't know that Live Nation did themselves or anybody involved in this process any favors by touting it as one of the biggest shows in Minnesota history. It absolutely is that, but the problem I think comes in, so people's disappointment I think comes from a couple things. One is McCartney tours. It's not like this is a guy who's been a recluse for 30 years and is suddenly coming back out and dusting off this incredible catalog of hits, which he absolutely has, but he tours, he plays. You can see Paul McCartney. We saw him here a few years ago. I went and saw him at Target Field quite a few years ago when he played here, and it was great. I mean, it's a big deal, but so I think people were a little let down because they're like, well, that guy's been here before and a couple times in the last decade, but also I don't know what people thought the announcement was going to be, because I feel like for a lot of people, McCartney's not a big enough deal for the buildup and my only response to that would be, well, Live Nation shouldn't have hyped it like this in the first place. They could have said it was a big show, but I mean, they really fanned the flames on this one. So nope, not everybody was going to be happy no matter what, but for the fans out there, I mean, what did you think was going to be bigger than Paul McCartney? My Chemical Romance? It's not, seriously. So I don't know what people would think might be big. Maybe having recently watched that incredibly good documentary, Becoming Led Zeppelin, if the surviving members of Led Zeppelin got together and went on a full-blown tour.
That's what I thought it might be.
I also thought that. It was either Led Zeppelin or McCartney, or I had a friend speculate that it might be they were going to announce that, because once I saw Paul Allen was doing the announcement, they speculated that maybe it was going to be announcing that the NFL draft was coming here. Which
that'd have been bigger.
Well, and that's again, it's still a show. It's absolutely a show, so it would be one of the biggest shows in Minnesota history. And so I just think people, because his music has defined rock and roll for more than 60 years, I think people were just a little like, oh, McCartney, and it's cool, but I'm going to tell you what, you better be a diehard, because I haven't seen what ticket prices are, but I can only...
Yeah, they haven't said yet.
I can only imagine what they're going to charge, even for the third-tier nosebleeds. This is going to be a very expensive show. Now, is it cool to see Paul McCartney? Absolutely, it's cool. cool to see Paul McCartney. But I don't know what the prices are actually going to be, but people can find out as of right now if you're registered for the pre-sale, because tickets go on sale to the general public this Friday, and they are on sale as of 10 minutes ago this morning for the pre-sale.
Oh.
And you can find out more there. But yeah, I'm sure that's going to be freakishly expensive. And it was just, I think it was kind of, despite his massive stature in the history of popular music, it was sort of underwhelming because it's not a unicorn. It's not something that you can't otherwise go see.
All right, let's see if we can get Brett while we're talking, Brian. Let's see if Brett Blakemore, if you can figure out if you can figure out the pre-sale code and go see what tickets cost. Then Brian and I, let's play a little Price is Right.
Okay, before we get to it,
for the best available lower level seats.
So Paul McCartney got back is where I got the information. Paul McCartney got back just to help Brett out on his end. What do I think the pricing is going to be? Well, obviously there's going to be some outlandish VIP packages that are in five figures. Yeah, there's no question about that.
Let's take VIP off. Let's take VIP off the table. So just to get your seat lower level. Floor level.
Like I want to be down in GA on floor level.
So I've been doing this high level long time, so I already had it ready to go once you started talking about it.
Nice.
All right. Well, let's guess first.
Yeah,
don't say it. Let's get some dollars.
All right.
Brian?
I'm going to say, so main floor, GA, but that's where you want to be. The seats are fine, but being on the floor is where you want to be for a show like this. I'm going to say that they start at $300, and I'm going to just say a nice round number, $300.
All right. I'm going to use Card Shark rules, and I'm going to go over.
Oh.
So we're talking floor.
Yeah, the floor.
The floor for the very cheapest. Let's see if I can even do field. The cheapest you can get in is $832 per floor.
And see, again, while I'm
that's on the field.
While I'm shocked, I'm not even a little bit surprised, because it's McCartney, and anybody who's been going to concerts in recent time. I got spoiled, by the way, doing 30 years of radio and never paying for a concert ticket.
Yeah,
and now waking up in this sad, cold reality that we're in now. Even just regular old shows that used to be $6, $12, $25. Those are all $75 shows now. And so I'm not at all surprised to hear this number. I do hope it doesn't come back to bite him in the butt, because if that's entry level on the field, does it say, Brett, what the seats are like in the first tier?
Well, so yeah, I was going to say the field, it looks like there's actual seats. So it's not like a pit.
Okay.
So it looks like there are actual seats.
Like when I saw you two there, it was just a standing room, giant. Yeah, it was just general admission.
Yeah, I think these are seats.
Well, because
that does change things.
Paul McCartney's fan base, the knees do need a little break now and then.
That's correct.
Myself included.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I'm getting to that stage.
What do you think the lowest get-in price for a 100 level? So in the lower bowl of the football stadium, what do you think the lowest price for that is to get in?
Charger, you have to go first on this
the
one.
resale market too, might I
add. That's the $300.
I'm going to go. Well, given that the floor, I'm going to go over anyway. I still think it's more than 300.
It is more than 300. The lowest you can get in for a 100 level right now that I see is 526. Is your lowest.
To sit and watch 2 hours of Paul McCartney. And don't get me wrong, I revere Paul McCartney the way he is supposed to be revered. I am a deep fan. I don't consider myself jaded about this stuff, but that's dumb. Maybe I'm spending $500 if, Ringo and Paul. No, not even then. I'm not. I'm not spending $500 to watch Paul McCartney live.
Well, and here's the last one. What is the cheapest get in the door anywhere? You're up with the cobwebs and the fake snow that the Vikings use. How much would that be?
I'm going to stick with the same $300. This $300 keeps moving from the floor level to the 100 level. Now I'm going to use that as our get in the door price, $300.
I'm going to say that just because we live in an outrageous era, and again, you're not going to find somebody who can command a higher ticket price right now, I'm still going to say that even walking in that door costs you more than $300.
Well, luckily, it is the lower. It is $255.
Okay.
Just to get in. That's the cheapest.
I mean,
and that's probably pre-fees, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I would assume.
Well, probably.
But in any event, it's still an outrageous number for sitting in a seat where, A, you're not going to be able to see anything, and even the jumbotrons will be a little smaller than you'd like. And the sound, by the time it bounces around enough to reach you all the way up in the stratosphere, is not going to be amazing. And again, I know it's about more than fidelity, and I know it's about more than proximity. This is an event, right? For people who love the Beatles, love Paul McCartney, it truly is a unique opportunity, especially if you've never seen him. And so I don't begrudge people saying you're not excited enough. You don't appreciate who Paul McCartney is. I absolutely do. I just think this is silly. I just what was it? $800 on the floor on the field?
More than that.
Yeah.
Also, I'm going to be a good employee. If you think these prices are ridiculous,
go on,
and you don't want to, then you can go to KFAN.com, keyword contests. Could win your way in to see Paul McCartney.
A much better way.
Now we're talking,
KFAN.com.
A much better way to go. Yeah.
I like that. All right. Last thing on McCartney. What's the one solo song that you would most want to hear from Paul McCartney when he plays U.S. Bank Stadium, Brian?
Is it by solo? We just mean post Beatles, right? It can be with
I mean post Beatles. If you want to throw, if you want to throw in his work with bands and you want to put Ebony and Ivory, fine.
No.
What's the one post Beatles song you want?
Wings. It would be from the Wings era, and it is without question the song Jet.
Oh, that's Band on the Run era, right?
Yes, very much so. Yep. And that's my favorite post Beatles era of McCartney. Of course, he's had a ridiculously long and varied solo career or post Beatles career. He never really stopped putting out music. And so he's got a ton of stuff to pick from. And a lot of it's still Paul McCartney. You know, he still knows how to write a song. Some of it may lack a little of the magic of the Beatles, but you know, he's put out consistently good music for a very, very long time.
Here's the solo song I want to hear, Brian.
What's that?
Live and Let Die.
Yep.
Live and Let Die. Bum. You know, the big, I think that's one of the great Bond theme songs of all time.
Other than
the Shirley Bassey one is fantastic.
I was going to say, other than Shirley Bassey, it's without question the great. I mean, is it Duran Duran's A View to a Kill? No, although that one ended up winning more awards than any of them. And it's fine. But no, I mean, Live and Let Die is a great song as a standalone, but when you consider it's a movie theme, another Bond theme that you should also consider adding and moving higher up the list, when Jack White of the White Stripes and Alicia Keys got together and did the duet Another Way to Die. And I believe that was for the big return of James Bond with Daniel Craig. Look at the video and listen to the song. That is up there with Live and Let Die for me.
Goldfinger.
And Shirley Bassey, man. Yeah, and I've listened to live recordings of her doing that, and that's what she sounds like. She's just not like a normal human being. So no, they've had great ones, but yeah, McCartney's he's written great, as good as songs got in the rock and roll era of the 60s and 70s. Some would say that continued into the 80s, but then I would also say I object, Your Honor, and presented as Exhibit A, Ebony and Ivory.
The State Fair lineup has been announced. I want to get your reaction to some of the bands coming through the State Fair grandstand when we come back. You can hold over another segment or two?
I can stay as long as you'd like me to be here, Paul.
Fantastic. That is the voice of Brian Oake. I am Paul Charchian. Fantasy Life, we have a brand new website, rebooted, easier to use, all the great stuff that you normally like to get ready for your fantasy football season. And guillotineleagues.com coming online, adding new features, getting Guillotine Leagues ready and up for this season. You can check that out as well. We'll be back with more Brian Oake in moments.
Before we go, the fan and bigdeck.com, I'm going to give you a shot to win bonus bucks for the National Cash Contest. Head to KFAN.com. The keyword is grand for this hour. Keyword grand, KFAN.com. Keyword grand. Mall of America's mystery cards are back, and we are bringing them to you all summer long. Come grab yours at KFAN events throughout the summer, wherever you see our KFAN street team. Then make sure to redeem them at Mall of America for fun prizes and big discounts. Full list of events now, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Welcome back. Friday Football Feast. Paul Charchian with you. PA and Nordo are out in studio. I am not in studio. I am in Utah. But in studio, Brian Oake. Because, Brian, we want to hear your voice in full in-studio FM clarity.
I love it. And frankly, I like doing it better. Like, we can, with the podcast, like we're equipped to do Zoom and all kinds of other things, ISDN. Mm-hmm. But there's nothing like a proper conversation face to face. Luckily, I can hear you so well and it doesn't sound like a phone or a bad connection that it's fine. But it's always better to be face to face. Plus, when's the last time I got to cast my gaze upon the very handsome young man across the window from me here?
Did someone make a bet that you? This is the second time I've been confident on my looks today. That's the second most time I've ever.
I've found that as I've gotten older, Brett, it never happened a lot anyways, and now it's so infrequent. It's so infrequent. Just enjoy it when it happens.
Yep,
just enjoy it when it happens.
Let's talk about the band coming through the State Fair, playing the Grandstand. First, I'm going to go here. The Grandstand is not a good concert venue.
I'm going to partially agree with you on that. I have sat way up in the nosebleeds of the grandstand area itself, and I have sat down in like the fourth and fifth row of the chairs they set up down on the ground on the old track there right in front of the stage. I think that's a decent place to see a show, is like if you're right down in front, and because a lot of places that's not necessarily the case. I think it's a better show there anyway. But no, if you're way back in the, like way up in the thing, you can see everything, but you can't see anything, so yeah, I agree. No. It's not an ideal venue, and certainly not at the prices they're charging for a lot of the tickets.
Even if you have good seats, the seating is still really far removed from the stage.
Yeah, there's no like right up on the rail kind of thing.
No right up on the rail. And just because it's a big venue doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to get right up on the rail. At the Palace Theater, you can get right up on the rail. There's a lot of opportunities in big venues to get close to the band. You can't do that at the Grandstand. I think in my mind, there is one venue that's worse than the Grandstand
in the world.
Roy Wilkins.
Oh well,
no, just in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, no, that is so historically abysmal that I've gone there because there are bands that I was dying to see. I've seen Marilyn Manson there probably no less than 5 or 6 times, and I know that sounds goofy, but I'm telling you right now, one of the greatest stage shows I've ever seen is Marilyn Manson. I went there to see Pixies, so I've gone to Roy Wilkins, saw Ministry there, Cypress Hill there. I've gone to Roy Wilkins, but unless it is a band that is absolutely compelling me, you would be hard pressed to find a venue of that size with worse sound anywhere that I've ever been personally. Yeah, no, it's literally a giant concrete box, and it sounds like it. The sound is the sight lines are not terrible, but the sound is genuinely unlistenable. It's terrible.
Yeah, it is. It's awful. It is awful. Roy Wilkins, I hopefully will never see another band there. The last band I saw there was LCD Sound System, a band I absolutely adore. They played there about 6-7 years ago. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I said, you know what? There isn't a band so good that I want to see them in the worst venue in the Twin Cities, because it makes everybody worse. And then when I saw LCD Sound System 2 years ago at the Armory, it was a 10 out of 10 show. Yeah. And the venue matters. The venue really does matter.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
Same band, 2 places.
Yep.
And have a totally different experience.
But, the problem is, like, if we look at the State Fair Grandstand lineup this year, you're not going to get Meghan Trainor somewhere else. She's playing the State Fair, and I know you being a big Meghan Trainor guy, you're still going to make the sacrifice and get out there.
I'm all about that bass. You know that about me.
Are you going to be back here during the State Fair?
Oddly enough, I believe I am.
Excellent.
As much as I have a tortured relationship with the Fridays of the State Fair and doing Fantasy Football Weekly at the State Fair, I expect to be back the final Friday and Saturday of the State Fair.
Labor Day weekend.
And PA doesn't know this yet, but I plan to try to make that show. I will probably be late because of parking and trying to get there on time, and all the other things that always make it difficult on me. But I will try to make it. And so, yeah, I think I'm actually gonna be there. Let's talk about the bands coming through the State Fair. I'm not much of a country guy. There's only a couple of country artists I like. apparently Old Dominion is a rather popular country band.
Popular enough that they play the state fair and casino circuit, and they've been around, and popular enough that for general admission in the pit, there's no seating. Those tickets start above $100. So, and if you want to go to the party deck, $134 to $149. So, yeah, I think they're just, reliable, good, hot, end of summer, state fair kind of country music. I'm going to be honest, I couldn't name an Old Dominion song with a gun pointed at me. So I don't know anything about them, but their name is not unfamiliar to me. I've heard the name a zillion times. Anything that's even vaguely modern country is just not my jam.
Yeah.
I mean, like today's hot country.
And I'm sure there are people listening that flipped over from K102 that are going, how do you not know Old Dominion? But we don't. And they've been around now since 2007. So apparently there are plenty of people that know them. The other country act that's coming, Hank Williams Jr., we do know about.
Oh, we do. All my rowdy friends are coming over for Friday night. Come on, yeah. Now, I mean,
do you think he wants to play that ever again?
Yes, because, he's an artist, and he actually is a guy who's also been making music for an impossibly long time. And you can judge by what you think of the quality, but there's no question he's had success. And I don't know, I've met artists who hate their hits, and I've met artists who are like, why would I not play? I'm going to see my fans. Why would I not play that song when I know everybody wants to hear it? You're lucky to have a song that gets people that geeked, even if you're bored about it. It's 3 minutes of your life. Do the right thing by your fans who paid way too much to come and see you, and then play the hits.
Play the hits, of which Hank Williams Jr., I'm sure, has many. If I know about him, then obviously he's got to be pretty big in the country world. He is coming in the latter stages of the state fair. Let's go to the classic rock division. So we've done country,
right? Let's
look at who's coming for classic rock.
I love classic rock.
Classic rock. We have one night for the 60s. So now we're talking about bands that were notable 50, 60 years ago.
Yep, 60 at least.
Turtles.
Yeah.
Gary Puckett and the Union Gap, Little Anthony.
Jay and the Americans, and most importantly, the only band that's getting me genuinely, because the Turtles is one of those bands where I think there might be one original guitar tech left in the band. Like the turnover,
exactly.
They're an institution. They're Menudo. They are not the Turtles anymore. So even if you have nostalgia for Happy Together, you're not going to see the band that did it and made it and played it. Right. So they always every year they have one of these sort of feel good 60s compilation tours that tours the country and goes to all the state fairs because people are, nostalgic for that music and that time. And I think rightly so. But the family pop group that was the template for the Partridge Family, the Cowsills, are going to be there. Now, I know they're not all still alive anymore, and I don't know what the Cowsills sound like in 2025. But just from a catalog standpoint or, the songs they have, I'd be more excited about seeing the Cowsills than anybody. But even as one of the most reasonably priced shows at the grandstand this year, I'm not spending $50 or $65 to go see Gary Puckett and the Union Gap. It's just not happening.
Who did the Cowsills have a hit song that I don't know?
Oh, did they do that Sunshine, Lollipops, and Rainbows song? I can't remember exactly, but it real family friendly, smiley, upbeat, family sunshine pop kind of stuff. I'm trying to remember. They had minor hits. I don't think they had any massive hits.
The Rain, the Park, and Other Things. Sounds like their hit, and I don't know what that is.
That's just but then they also did covers of Love American Style, and they did their version of the song Hair. It's all real feel goody, pseudo hippie, but hippie music that Marsha Brady would listen to, not actual Haight-Ashbury hippie music. Because it was the 60s. Everyone had to get groovy, even if you were kind of a square suburban kid.
Def Leppard coming to town. I think that'll be undoubtedly a big draw. And Def Leppard, I think, has played. I swear they've been booked 5 times at state fairs.
Very few bands tour more than Def Leppard currently tours, which is a bummer because I actually there's an era of Def Leppard that matters to me growing up in Coon Rapids. Go Cardinals.
Yeah.
I fell in love with High and Dry and Pyromania. Hysteria, not so much, but I liked them a lot at that time. And the word on the street is that Joe Elliott, lead singer, has nothing of a voice left. And that's just a bummer, because it's one thing. It's hard out there. And as we get older, and everyone's definitely getting older, things change. But if you lose that voice that was sort of one of the signature elements of this worldwide celebrated band, that makes it really tough to sit through a $292 concert.
What?
Well, that's the most expensive reserve seats. I'm sure that's like right up front. But reserve seats run from $77 to $292, and the party deck is $154 to $169.25.
I've seen videos online of him singing. And obviously, I'm not going to see, no one's going to post like, here, he sounds good here. So it's the worst of the worst.
Of course.
But that worst of the worst,
awful.
It's not good.
I've also come across it, and so I haven't. Last time I saw them was at X Fest out in Somerset. Many moons ago. But it was. It was fun. I very much enjoyed seeing them live that night. But yeah, no, the word on the street is that Elliot's got no voice left. And that being said, though, this is another one of those nostalgia acts. I promise you the amount of feathered hair and acid wash denim you see will be spectacular, because everyone knows that's the best part of the state fair. Yeah, the food is great and the attractions can be cool and the rides. The people watching is... There isn't rivaled people watching anywhere in the state of Minnesota at any point in the year. And so the people watching alone might be worth the price of admission at Def Leppard.
All right. We need to get to a break, but I'm going to, the band, if I were to go to any one band that's playing the state fair, I think it would be the Avett Brothers.
Yeah, they're a great, great live band. There's a couple I would go see, and I'll make it quick, but I would go see Steve Miller Band, because Steve Miller's still got it, and their catalog is so rich, you're like, really? Is that the Joker guy? If you went through the catalog, you would recognize a dozen songs easy. Melissa Etheridge and Indigo Girls, Laugh at You Like, if you like, but My Time at Cities 97 changed me, and Indigo Girls might be the single, go ahead and laugh, guy. They might be the single greatest live harmonizing duo I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm a huge fan of both Amy and Emily, and I can only imagine what Common and Tenna B are going to say about that, because they've always called me the president of the Indigo Girls fan club. But also one of the biggest names in American hip hop, Atmosphere, hometown guys. They throw on a great festival every year through Soundset, and this year they're going to be with Cypress Hill, Lupe Fiasco, and The Far Side, plus DJ Abilities, who's incredible, are all going to be playing on Saturday, August 23rd, the first weekend of the State Fair.
Atmosphere is awesome and one of the great homegrown bands in the history of Minnesota. Yeah. And so super happy for their success. And that, to me, that would be number two. The number two act I would see at the grandstand in the State Fair. When we come back, I asked for help with this with Brian on Twitter. The band you hated until you loved them. And what happened to flip you over? Brian's got some of his. I've got some of mine. People have tweeted in answers at me, at Paul Charchian, and about the band you hated and then flipped. You did the 180. What happened? How did it change? We'll talk about that when we come back. Final segment with Brian Oake in studio on The Fan.
Gear up for a hilarious night when Dane Cook returns to the Island Event Center. See his legendary style of stand-up live at Treasure Island Friday, October 24th. Get all the details now, ticasino.com.
Welcome back, Friday Football Feast. Not entirely football free, but mostly football free. We're in the sports abyss. Twins, there's plenty going on, but not a topic we're going to get into today. We are going to wrap up this hour with Brian Oake, though. We encourage you to listen to the Brian Oake Show, the podcast available wherever you get podcasts, but especially the iHeartRadio app, which is the premier location for the Brian Oake Show. Hi, Brian.
Hi there, Paul. I understand that it's the #1 destination for podcasters and podcasting. So, yeah, and again, it's largely about music, but we do veer off the path every once in a while. But I'm glad to be here talking music with you because you and I are actually good friends, and we genuinely choose to spend time together away from work. And one of our bonding points is that we both are deep, deep music heads, and it's fun to have conversations. You know, I got over that know-it-all thing when I was quite young because I figured out I was learning more and I was growing more by hearing what other people liked. So like on the podcast, anybody who comes by, they get to pick 3 songs that I have no say over whatsoever. And I want it to be different. I want it to be unusual. I want to learn about that person through the music they like and often get exposed to things I would have never otherwise heard about. So I love it. I just worry that the listenership that are normally here for the deep dive on the sports might be tired of us nerds talking about music, but too bad. You get one more segment.
You get one more segment of it. I think that's okay. Brian, let's talk about bands that you originally hated, and then perhaps through the process you just described, other people, put a band on your radar, and the next thing you know, something changes, and you go from a hater to a lover. Give me a band that you've done that has happened with you, where you disliked a band and then something changed, and now you're a huge fan.
I can think of a couple examples. One of them deeply embarrassing, but I've come to grips with the fact. But the one I'm going to start with is the Velvet Underground, widely regarded by any hipster you've ever talked to about music as one of the great foundational bands in all of rock history and one of the most important underground American bands literally ever. And every time I listened to them, and I had friends that were way into them. I'm talking like when I was 19, 20 years old, and they were already well past their prime, and they'd come and gone at that point. Yep. And but I listened and I didn't hear it. What I heard was songs that all the instruments were out of tune. Nobody bothered to learn how to play them or to practice before they decided to record. I thought it was a nightmare. I hated and I could not. I respected these people and their take on music, and I'm like, why do people like this crap band? And then and
that's where I am right now on Velvet Underground. So try to sway me a little bit.
Well, okay, here's the deal. Here's what happened to me is the big tipping point for me that made me go, because I had already written them off entirely. The tipping point for me was that it wasn't immediate love, but I gave them a much bigger chance, and now I've come around to really loving them. David Bowie, is my all-time favorite anything in music. Yep. #1 all-time, no question. So I'm seeing David Bowie at this kind of cool intimate performance in Chicago some years ago, and he famously had 2 Velvet Underground covers that he always did, White Light, White Heat, and Waiting for the Man. And he was about to launch into one of them, and he's like, I've been playing music a long time, and growing up, I thought I knew everything. I thought I knew what rock and roll was. I thought I knew what music was about, and I was going to take the world by the ring, and I knew it. And he said, and then one day, I heard the Velvet Underground, and I realized that I knew nothing. And then he launched into it, and I was like, wait a minute. David Bowie just said that he didn't know anything until he heard Lou Reed playing guitar. And it was it didn't factor at all. The pieces did not fit, and nothing computed. And so I went back and listened, and I really put the time in, because I'm like, man, if this changed Bowie's life, there's got to be something in here that I'm missing. And I don't know what it is. And there are still songs that I find more irritating than enjoyable, but I have come all the way around on Velvet Underground. I now recognize their importance, and I don't bristle like I used to when someone put them on. I don't actively go out of my way to put them on, but I've come to like them.
I happen to be, by sheer coincidence, listening to the Velvet Underground episode on A History of Rock and Roll in 500 Songs, my podcast that I reference often on the station among friends, because it's such a great way to learn about all of these different bands that I only had superficial knowledge of. Happen to be on the Velvet Underground right now.
Wow.
I'm on your first. I'm exactly where you were. I hear a bunch of people who are barely functional with their instruments.
Yep.
They were all of them deep heroin addicts when they were making this, and so I don't think that there was a lot of deep thought that went into the music.
Right.
I think they just sort of plugged everything in and just sort of like jammed a little bit and did their stuff and then stopped recording. And then I don't think there's a particularly good singer, including Lou Reed in this group.
Yeah.
And Nico's voice to me is awful.
I mean, I've not come around on that. I'm with you. I do not. I mean, because she was a model. She's a model, and she was part of Andy Warhol's empire. And since he was the Svengali behind that record, that's why she got the front billing in that. But it fits for what a weirdo art conglomeration that band was. More feeling than talent for sure. The Nico thing completely fit. I mean, once again, Andy Warhol. He's another guy who I really ever understand, but he was pretty brilliant actually.
And so Andy Warhol, he spent a year not making any art because he wanted to build up some more demand. He'd already made, he'd made all this money. He was a huge pop culture figure and his artwork was selling. But he had decided the tactic was he was going to take a year off of making art to build up some demand for his art. And then he'd release more. So he's like, okay, what should I do for that year off? And so he started making movies, really bad movies, like no script. And they would just be like, hey, let's go film a scene over here against this wall, and stuff like that. But the other thing he did is he manufactured a band. Yeah. And, we kill the Monkees for being a manufactured band. The Velvet Underground was very much a manufactured band by Andy Warhol, and his assistant, last name's Morrissey, I think Peter Morrissey. And they wanted to promote, they wanted to build a band out of nowhere that'd be an Andy Warhol band. And so Andy Warhol's art's on the cover of their albums. And, it was an Andy Warhol manufactured band, not an organic band of great musicians that came together to make great music. And I can't do it on the Velvet Underground.
I understand. No, but that's the whole thing, right? I mean, obviously music is hyper personal and very, very subjective, but I think everyone's had that experience of, I hated this band and now, if not love, have a fine appreciation for and no longer cringe when they come on. What about you? What's the one that stands out most to you where you've made the most dramatic turnaround?
And you're going to hate this, and that's okay.
That's okay.
It's Rush. Rush was a band that growing up, all I could hear was Geddy Lee's voice. And I'm like, this is the worst singer in the history of rock music to be, to get to the stage where Rush was.
Right.
And then I had friends that just urged me, okay, just listen to their instrumental stuff for Rush. Listen to YYZ, listen to, the long segments of their music where they have an 8-minute long song and 6 of the minutes don't have Geddy Lee. And so I did that, and I'm listening to La Villa Strangiato, and I'm like, what am I even hearing? The musicianship is bonkers. There's no way 3 people should be making this noise. This must be tracked multiple times. And it turns out it's all playable live. And just the musicianship was so high that I got sucked into Rush and eventually learned to have an appreciation for Geddy's voice. Unique as it is, I still don't love it, but then the effort that went into the lyrics are so much stronger than virtually any other band that's ever lived. Rush made lyrics about deeply meaningful things that go so that are so much more impactful than just, I met a girl and she broke my heart and, all the BS that we normally get. And so I flipped on Rush, and I just feel like that's probably as strong a group of instrumentalists that have ever been in a group in the history of rock music.
Yeah, the late Neil Peart's one of the goats of drumming, really. He was unbelievable. And to me, like Limelight is just such a good tune. YYZ, which you mentioned, was on Guitar Hero as a kid. I would be jamming that all the time.
Yeah.
And if I had to listen, and I'm like a modern metal guy, but if someone's like, you need to listen to classic rock, that would be it'd be all day long would just be Rush. Cause it's almost like the building blocks for what now is more of like a modern metal for me.
And from an opposing viewpoint, we bring in Brian Oake into this conversation about Rush.
I have one sentence for you. Just because you can play every note doesn't mean you should play every note. My problem with Rush is my problem with although they have more pop sensibility than your average prog rock band, I can't stand the incessant noodling. Now I can listen to a 7-minute Led Zeppelin song because it's blues based, it's scuzzy, it's rock and roll. Rush and Steely Dan for whatever reason, and I do respect them. I understand that these are bands that are held in extremely high regard. They've just, if it doesn't flip that switch in the back of your head, if it doesn't do something to the lizard part of your brain, it's not your jam, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I don't even mind Geddy Lee's voice, and I know he's a talented lyricist, and all three of them could play. There's no question. None of that is in question. I just have yet to hear a combination of those things with that band that ever made me think like, man, I'd like to hear that again. Or, let's go put on another Rush record ever. And so I don't hate them. I just don't ever want to hear them again.
That's a band for flip. That flipped for me. When I brought this topic up on Twitter, what's the band that you flipped? You went from hate to love. Mm-hmm. Rush was the most common one.
Yep.
The second most common one was the band you just mentioned, Steely Dan.
Yeah, well,
it's a polarizing band, and you're still not on board.
You know what? They're fine, and especially their poppier ones and the ones that actually became, hits on the radio that I heard growing up. They're fine. I'm not mad at them, but I guess what puts me off is the cult-like reverence that fans of the band have. To me, that's the kind of band, like if you grew up playing music or you are well versed in actual music theory, you can appreciate them. Kind of like Zappa, like Zappa is not everybody's cup of tea. Steely Dan is not everybody's cup of tea. But if you know music and you can appreciate the almost impossibly ridiculous difficulty in the structures that they're using, then I think that there's some appeal there. But it's just if I'm going to sit down and put on a relaxing record or a record that I really like to groove to, it is not going to be Steely Dan, or is it going to be, it's certainly not going to be Rush. Can I give you one more and I'll make it quick? But it's so embarrassing that I've reached an age where I no longer am dealing with shame about the things I like. I no longer care what other people's opinions are. And this was an artist and his band that were played to living death because they had like 40 hits. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. You will know so many songs if you went through their catalog. And there was a local classic rock powerhouse when I was growing up, and in Coon Rapids, it was always on, and they played them incessantly.
I think I know where you're going.
I think you do too. And my dad was also a mega fan of this band. So whether I was hearing it out and about or it was on heavy rotation at stately Oak Manor, there was so much Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band in my early life, and not the cool Bob Seger system late 60s stuff. I mean, like the meat and potatoes 1970s into early 80s Seger. And I got to the point where I was like, if I never hear Bob Seger again, my world will be a better place. And many, many intervening years came by, and it would come on like Turn the Page or Rock and Roll Never Forget. I would immediately hit the button, reach as fast as I could. And then it started to change, and then I actually one time, working at the record store, thought, well, just for fun, it'll be goofy. We were playing classic rock all day. I put on Night Moves by Bob Seger, and something had shifted I don't know if it was my age, if it was what, but I realized he's a killer singer. He's a great live performer. The songs are good. And if you go back and look at it's a cavalcade of hits. The guy was a mainstay on rock radio for more than 15 years with among the highest level during that time. And this one kills me because I was the most ardent anti-Seger guy on the planet. And, I've come around. I like him. I like Bob Seger now.
All right. Well, I don't, but I appreciate the fact that that you're willing to change and give something a fresh listen. I just think that's healthy, and most of us don't do that enough.
No, and that's the whole thing. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but to your point, when people say, I hate country, or I hate rap music, or I hate klezmer, to me, that is one of the laziest things in the world, and I question your fandom, because there's something good for everybody out there. And even if I don't like what you like, or vice versa, if we share the same passion for the music that we do enjoy, we already have more in common than we don't. I mean, it matters to us, right? It's important. So I'm totally cool talking with people about bands that I can't stand that they love. I think it's healthy.
The Brian Oake Show, available on the iHeartRadio app and wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Thank you for coming in studio. I really appreciate it, Brian. This has been a ton of fun.
Yeah, anytime, man. I'm happy to help, and I can't wait to see your face in person again. Be well, man.
Yeah, I will be there next month. Dan Jurgens is arguably the single greatest authority on Superman. He lives in town. Dan has written or illustrated over 200 different Superman. I don't know what's the word. I don't want to say comics, but I guess we'll go with comics. He's been steeped in Superman lore his entire career, and the Superman movie, incredibly important, will for DC, which desperately needs a hit. He was there for the launch of the Superman movie, and we're going to have a chance to chat with Dan Jurgens on Superman, how important this is for DC when we return to the Fan in moments.